Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio, we have Dr. Merav Ozair. She's a leading blockchain and cryptocurrency expert. We're going to discuss how financial services institutions are leveraging AI and machine learning models. Merav, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And the use of ML and AI, it's not new in financial services.
No.
How are institutions engaging with it?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. The whole concept, now AI is so hyped, people are thinking, with the ChatGPT, oh, it's something new. No, it's not new at all. I mean, all these algorithms start, sometimes in the 40s, and I'm talking about the previous century, not this century. So it's like over, kind of 80 years, in the process. And it was going, up and down, sometimes, it was more hype, less hype, with all kinds of. And it got more and more advanced because the technology has advanced. I mean, the computing power that we have, the access to more data, because it's all about data driven. I mean, all of this, so it needs a lot of data, it needs a lot of computing power. And as this advances, then this model is advanced and then it becomes more applicable. But the concept has been way, way, way back. And therefore, all the financial institutions have been using AI, maybe a more like primitive models, not the ChatGPT, that we have today, and all of those generative AI, which is the next generation of AI, which is called GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And Transformer is also an AI language, and it's an AI language that was developed sometimes in the 70s and has to do, it's more advanced, than the regular, the what we call the neural network. And that now got a little bit more of a boost with the new transformer, which is the GPT, which and now everyone is using GPT. And basically GPT was developed by the lab of OpenAI, OpenAI, the developers of ChatGPT, and this is, where everything, started. But now everyone can use GPT because it's an open language and everyone can use it. So now everyone is using that. So the financial institutions have been using it, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years, for decades, but, probably was a little bit more, whether it was in risk management, portfolio optimizations, customers assistance, etc. But now we're getting to the next generation, like in everything.
Right. Well, I mean, consumers have been using Robo Advisors and they've been engaging with AI whether they were aware of the concept or not.
Right.
Do you think Robo Advisors could replace humans, or will there be a way for them to work together?
Okay, so, well, Robo Advisor is also a very interesting concept. It started, I think that the first Robo Advisors was launched by Betterment, and that was something in 2008. And they were the first one, and since then, you have so many like them, and even traditional, they were like a startup, but today even traditional banks, offer you Robo Advisors in addition to their financial advisors. So it goes, and for many, and since, this Robo Advisor, came to place, and even before Betterment, financial advisors were using this kind of software, but it wasn't available to the public like the Betterment and the Robo Advisor we have today. So you had to go through a financial advisor to get this kind of information that they were using. So that was even we're talking about almost like 15 years or so, and this is what even before. So as I said, it was but it's getting more advanced. Now, for many years, financial advisors was, fearing that there will come a time when technology is going to replace them, put them out of business, so to speak. Well, it didn't happen yet because, as I said, in most financial institutions, you have the Robo Advisors, and you also have the financial advisors, which in fact brings the banks, the financial institutions, billions of dollars of assets, much more than Robo Advisors, because people, as I said, they are a little bit more primitive. However, now we're getting to the next generation, which is powered by GPT. So it's not going to be what I call AI powered, but it will be GPT powered, which is the next generation of the AI, which is much more powerful. It can do much more. It has access to much more data. And even Bloomberg itself, they just published a paper. They're doing research for a long time. It's a research paper, and they're working on it, which is called Bloomberg GPT. And you know Bloomberg terminals. Now think about it, that they're going to be tapping into all the information that you have on Bloomberg terminal. Bloomberg terminal is also quite powerful, if you ask me. I mean, I think one of the best application. I mean, everyone almost in the financial industry knows Bloomberg and uses Bloomberg. So, and now think about, now if it's going to be like the Bloomberg GPT, which is powered by all of that. And according to their assessment, on the research, I mentioned that also in my article, and also if you go to the paper, that this Bloomberg GPT is performing, compared to other GPT type of chatbots, it performs much better in finance context. When you ask financial questions, it performs much better. It outperforms all the what called generic GPTs, and at par with general questions with generic GPTs. So just think about how powerful it's going to be. It's not launched yet. I don't think you can access it through Bloomberg yet. But if it's going to be launched, I think it will be very powerful.
I mean, think of all the data that
yes.
of any company on the planet. It's definitely Bloomberg. How are banks using chatbots for customer assistance, which I'm not a big fan of yet? Perhaps it will evolve and get better.
Yes. So with chatbot, in fact, the CFPB, which is a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, in fact, put a warning to financial institutions, saying that they got a lot of complaints from
consumers,
that getting a little bit frustrated, with using ChatGPT, and not just GPT, sorry, chatbots, that they're not getting answers, they're getting frustrated. Most chatbots, as of now, they are rule-based. And like, decision tree, and they have a preset, type of Q&A. But, if you are already calling, you probably has something that is, outside of the regular Q&A, because for Q&A, I can go just to the website and find my answer. If I'm already calling, then probably this is something more complex and more sophisticated, and therefore I need more help. So you get very frustrated, with this, and you need to get, and you can't reach, a human, to talk to. And this is what the frustration is, that, there are a lot of, financial institutions that, just, wants to put everything automated and but Erica, for example, which is of Bank of America, it's a good example. I think, it's a little bit more sophisticated than the regular one. It does, have AI. I don't think it had GPT yet, but there are some implementations like one Bank Zero and also one and Casisto, which is a Sky GPT, but I'm going to talk about it in a second. But even the one that Erica, which is this is how they call it, it's a little bit more sophisticated because it allows you to kind of like almost immediately transfer, to a human, and the human, immediately can pick up on where kind of you left off with the GPT. And more than that, when you're calling, this chatbot Erica can kind of predict why you're calling. So it has all the information. Now, the reason why they added the feature, that it can, transfer you to a human, very quickly, because there is a survey that is out there that most consumers, even the, in fact, we would believe, that maybe the young generation, that the Gen Z probably would prefer automations, but no, they prefer some in combination of human and automation. And in fact, the younger ones even more than the older generations. So it's very interesting.
Which I would agree with, because for certain banking applications, let's talk about going for a mortgage for a minute. That would be, in my mind, challenging with a chatbot, especially if it's your first time going for a mortgage. I mean, when I went through it, I was on the phone with my broker all the time, just because it's so complex. And I can't imagine going through the nuances and the paperwork. And when you get a mortgage, it's something's wrong with the social security number, and then something comes up under your credit report that's supposed to be there, and you just kind of want the comfort and being able to talk to someone and knowing that someone's hearing you and listening to you. So when you think about all that put together, what does the future of chatbots of Robo Advisory look like?
Well, when it comes to, for sure, you know, the what they call the GPT-powered type of chatbots and advisors, you know, all these applications probably will be much more powerful because they more conversation-like, they gather more information, they will be able to perform much better. And even, you know, JP Morgan, you know, came up with this index GPT, which is also going to be kind of for financial advisors. So that most likely, you know, it's, you know, even ChatGPT is much better than the you know, the chatbots that you had before. So, you know, you can't really compare. So we already know that it's very powerful, and it's going to get even more powerful as this GPT itself is going to evolve. But I mean, whether there will be a time when we don't need humans at all, I don't see, you know, in the next year or so. Mm-hmm. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. I can't really, I don't know. It depends, you know, how we evolve with this technology. When people will say, oh, I don't need, you know, I get all my answers, you know, just talking to a bot, you know, and it's perfect. But as you said, you know, there are, especially in finance and also in healthcare, you know, there are so many nuances, and it's so personal. Right. And you know, when you're talking about your finances or your health, sometimes you want the empathy of a human. I mean, forget, you know, the fact that, you know, that maybe it has all the answers, but you want to talk to a human and feel more empathy, which these chatbots cannot really provide at the moment. And you remember that I talked all about that, you know.
Well, I mean, a lot of it, and you and I have spoken about this in almost every conversation, all comes down to trust, data privacy. I don't think I'd want my therapist to be, you know, a bot, but, you know, to your point, these technologies are learning, and today machine learning, so hopefully they'll improve as they learn. Yeah, but, you know, whether they can, you know, they also, you know, when I wrote the article about common sense, you know, it doesn't have common sense, and that's part of the empathy and the common sense, which it doesn't have yet. And even AI scientists are think that maybe this is a long shot, you know, just, you know, like a moonshot, that, you know, in order to even get to that point when AI will have the common sense and the empathy, and that may never happen. And if that will never happen, maybe we'll always we'll have, you know, and when I think about, you know, everyone is saying, you know, oh, we don't need humans, we just, you know, go into a chatbot. But why won't we think about that this technology is a tool? It's a great tool. It can help us. It can work alongside with human. It can help human, you know, help us with all the mundane automations, you know, administrative stuff, and help us, you know, retrieve information more quickly and assess it and all this complexity. But still, we can have the human aspect of it, of getting, you know, the common sense, the empathy, the quick decisions that we need sometimes that, you know, has to do with more personal nuances, etc. It doesn't have to be one or the other. People always think about one or the other, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you're in academia, right? Right. We used to have to go to the library to get books, and now the internet, we can access thousands of scholarly databases without having to wait for them to come in from other students or rely on a librarian to help you source everything. I mean, it's a game changer. It is a game changer, and this is why, you know, we still have the human, you know, doing the research and everything, and we have all, you know, the internet and all the other tools, you know, that are helping us access it and even, you know, analyzing it. I mean, the tools of analyzing data today, you know, I don't know, like 100 times better than what you had even 10 years ago. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know, what I can do now with my quantitative analysis is much better than when I started my PhD. Yeah. For sure. I mean, everything has come, you know, better. You know, I can get to more data. I can analyze it better. I can, you know, the questions that I want to ask, you know, I can find a solution easier. So yeah, it's assisting us, you know, to evolve quicker, you know, and get to solutions quicker. But again, it doesn't have to be one or the other. People are always looking for one or the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be this way. All right, Merav, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.